In this video, now we are going to be talking about the second and the third pillar of underground exposure, and that is aperture and ISO. Aperture and ISO are the two in-camera controls that allow us to fine-tune to adjust the exposure either lighter or darker. So to kind of explain how that works, let me give you a sort of a scenario. So let's say that you are underground. You're in a passage that's 100 feet long. Nice long shot for those of you who enjoy doing survey on top of photography. So we got a nice long 100-foot long passage that's maybe 15 by 15 feet, 15 feet in diameter. And you've set up your camera. You got two buddies down the passageway, poised with flashes, ready to go. And you look at the shot, you decide, I think I'm going to start this off with something like an ISO 400 because I don't want it to be too grainy. I want it to be nice and clear and crisp. And your aperture, you decide I'm going to start at f8 because I don't want to open it all the way because I've got something that I'm focusing on that's not too far away and I want the background in focus. So I don't want my depth of field too narrow so that I get back to my computer and it's slightly out of focus in the back. So you make that decision. Everything's set up and ready to go and you yell off, "Fire!" and your friends fire their flashes. You wait for a second, look at the viewfinder on the back, and you realize it's too dark. Well, what do? Well, you've got a couple of options here. And we're going to exclude right now the ability to adjust the flashes. Let's just focus on the in-camera features, the aperture and ISO. So I've got some decisions to make. Well, first of all, I can adjust the ISO or I can adjust the aperture. Maybe I sit and think about it for a minute and I say, well, you know, there's a lot of grittiness to the cave, so what's a little bit more graininess in the shot? I go ahead and decide to up my ISO from 400 to 800, making it significantly more sensitive, the chip in the back of my camera, hence brightening the shot. So I adjust it to ISO 800 and I go ahead and fire away. Look at the shot again, it's a little bit brighter, but not quite where I want it. So my other option is I can take the aperture and I can open it up. So I decide hesitantly I'm going to do that because of my focus. So I go ahead and open it to maybe 5.6, a little bit bigger, to let a little more light in. And then I make sure that what's critical is in focus. So maybe I zoom in on my viewfinder to make sure it's spot on. And then I go ahead and fire it again. Look on the back, spot on, perfect. So you can see that you've got a couple of different options without touching your light and just leaving that shutter open. Like I said, as long as you need it open, you can adjust the aperture and the ISO up or down to lighten or darken your shot underground. So that's aperture and ISO. Now, what if you did this combination here and you're maxed out? You've opened your aperture all the way and your ISO is pushed as far as you can go before it starts really breaking down. You don't want to go any further than that. Well, in the next pillar, we're going to talk about adjusting the intensity of your flash, a couple of different ways to do that, so that you can overcome that. So if I wanted to, I could say, I'm not willing to compromise on the grain. 400 is where I want it. If I go bigger than f8, then I'm going to start losing my focus and the sharpness when I blow it up in the back. So what can I do? I can adjust my flash. So let's go ahead and jump over to the next video and we'll talk a little bit about that.